All right, y'all, got something super neat today. I'm up here in Smyrna, Tennessee with Jamie Lewis, Lewis Fabrication and Race Car Chassis. Here in this shop, nothing is off limits. We get to see it, everything. We're gonna see what actually goes on. This man builds some awesome street stocks here and late models, right? Builds late models as well. I'm up here picking up a metric frame that he's already had sandblasted, ready to go, that we're gonna put on the jig. It's gonna be our next car. But I want to show you what's going on here with Jamie Lewis.
So here's some of our latest builds right here. This is a new build on the BRC frame that I guess the Bernheisel people know.
All right, so this is different on this frame right here.
Right, and you don't have to run the stock GM frame no more. This is the one that they're manufacturing at 2x3.
Is it how do you pronounce it? Bernheisel?
Bernheisel.
Bernheisel.
The tag on any chassis you get is going to have BRC on it.
Okay.
And then they'll, wherever you're in line when you buy one of these, you'll have a tag on the front to give you a number. Right. This is M1020. So you basically get just the bottom part of the frame. Right. And all the lower control arm mounts will be on it. All your rear trailing arm mounts will be on it. Right. Your spring buckets will be in it. All you basically got to do is put your front end, your style, whatever you want to run front end wise, and put your style of roll cage on it, and then you're ready to go to powder coat. Wow. So I mean, it's really, as far as the guy having to build one of these, it's really simple to build one, because you take like a stock type chassis. We just finished this one up. I mean, you got to go in here, you got to cut all this, you got to cut all the stock stuff off.
Now this is a metric chassis, right? This is a metric 79
through 88 GM.
Okay.
And you know what a nightmare all this is. You got to go in here and plate all this. You got to notch out for the fuel pump. You got to notch the knot up on the crossmember off. Right. I mean, it's just a lot of work, and you got to clean a lot of wheels up. You got to notch out for the right front. I mean, it's just so you got to spend 2 days worth of work on this car, and that chassis right there, you can spend 2 days welding tubing on it. Right. It's just ready to go. Right. Now this is, I know, Crate Racing USA. Yes, what, Rush. Mid-East, there's a couple of different sanctioning classes that are all allowing this now, right? Yeah, before you could only run the Johnson chassis. And, you could run the stock or the Johnson, and then they come up. Well, actually, when they first had these in a magazine, I was like, man, that's nice. That would be, as far as me having to build them, I know what time it takes to build one of these cars. And I looked at it, and what I'm looking at is you ain't got to cut nothing off of it. I mean, you got fuel pump cleaner. I mean, everything is done. It's ready to go. It's the money part of this. I drove to South Carolina because I got mine from Banjo Duke. He bought 10 of them first, so I bought a couple of them from him. And I drove to South Carolina in my pickup truck, put them in a bed. I didn't have to take no trailer, nothing. Put them in the bed, brought them back, and we build late models too. Actually, had several roll cages already built up for late models. Well, I rode it right in here. And I couldn't go to bed, and I was like, I got a halo and stuck on it. It fit perfect. And then, I got my welder. I started just... Couldn't help yourself, Bob. Like, this is too easy. Way too easy to build a car. Now, whether they'll be better or not, everybody's got their own opinion. So, what, about 2,000? A little more? They advertised in 1995 or 1999. So, I mean, you say $2,000. And that's in the year 2023, so things change. But I mean, they've held a Banjo called me actually on Friday. They ordered us more. I told them I'd take 2 more of them to help them out get because they need to order 6 at a time. If anybody that's, I know Trackstar, Boland's got them. Most of the people you see, they ship 6 at a time. Right. So it's pretty much a 6. And laser. Right. Like anybody sells laser can get them, right? I think. I think that you can individually just call for an order one, but you'll have to go get it or you have to pay for shipping. But people that's building them, they usually try to get 6 or 7 at a time. 6 or 7 at a time. Anyone that I've seen that's got them, they've been 6 on a pallet. Right. So that seems to be the magical number here. So, I think this is where it's probably heading long term, and because it makes sense. It's like at a certain point the frames are going to be gone. But people keep saying that, and people say that for 20 years, and you can still find them. So I would love to know how many GM ever made of them. A lot. Well, and because the platform, and that's right, because from 78 to 87,
it was literally everything. Oldsmobile, Pontiac, Buick, you know, it was everything.
2-door or 4-door.
That's right, 2-door or 4-door. So yeah. All right. Well, what equipment? Let's walk through. What equipment do you use? Because you do it all turnkey from one end to the other. So what are the big ticket items?
The tubing rack there. That's where they all start right there. They all start right there.
What's your stock? So what's your stock? What's your big? You know, all your main tubing that you use. You know, on this rack. What are the sizes that you're using?
All our chases are built out of Dokal R8.
Y'all look at the plate this guy's got.
But the street stocks, I've usually built them out of chromoly tubing.
Right.
But the crazy part is the Dokal R8 comes so sweet. It comes over on a boat. It's not made in the USA. So there's only one source vendor in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's called AED Metals. They basically get a container.
Right.
All right. And it's crazy that the chromoly right now is almost $10 a foot. I can buy a Dokal for $4.25 a foot.
Really?
So I've been building everything out of Dokal.
Now, is that a like DOM? You know, they weld the seam and pull it back through a mandrel. How does that compare? You know,
well, it's the strength of the material.
It's the strength of the material.
There's nothing stronger than Dokal in the known to man. It's like 125,000 per square inch, where DOM's only 90.
Okay.
Chromoly is like 115.
Right.
So it's very, very strong.
But you don't have a problem MIG welding it, like, say, for example, chromoly. It doesn't create that embrittlement or anything?
Well, and that's another misconception about chromoly. They've been MIG welding chromoly for 35 years.
Right.
But it's how you weld chromoly. Chromoly, when you weld chromoly, it hardens.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of chromoly cars breaking up.
Right, you see it break out around the weld. It doesn't break in the weld, but you see it crack around the weld.
You got to realize your filler material is always, no matter what filler material you use, is going to be stronger than a piece of steel you want to do.
Right.
So that's why your weld don't break. It breaks around the weld.
So your main go-to 1.5 inches as far as your roll cages and everything?
Everything on these cars right here, most everything is 1.5 inches. Now when you used to have to run 3,000 or 3,200 pounds, you pretty much made everything an 1.5 inches. Because if you made the chassis light, then you had about 1,000 pound lead.
Right. You're compromising your safety for no reason.
If you run a crate engine, you can run 2,800 pounds.
Right.
You can run most everything is 1.5 inches, but you do put a lot of 1.25 inches in it.
You use a lot of 1.25 inches as well.
Because you want to lighten it up. Because and it depends on who the car is going to. I mean, if you've got a kid driving that's 130 pounds, it's one different than you got a guy that's weighing 50.
Let's look. Y'all check this out. Tell me Jamie don't know what he's doing. All your own bodies and everything, right?
Yeah, all the chassis get built here, they go to powder coat, I'll bring them back, and then if I ain't got a car on the setup plate, I love working on my setup plate. But I'll put them on the setup plate right here.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even realize. You got another plate in the floor.
Yes, sir.
So you got a mini stock right here. Now, did you build this, or are you just working it?
I'm just freshening the body up.
You're just doing the body?
Yeah, I just want to go to the Cherokee, the 404 Southern Crown.
Yep.
So I'm just freshening the body up on it. But if I'm not building chassis, this is why I like to work. I like to work on my setup plate right here.
Really?
Well, I mean, the neat thing about the setup plate, if you want to do any measuring, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You get a tape measure, it's got a magnet in the end of it.
Yep.
And like I said, I do everything here by myself. So if I need to measure something, I can just go right to the plate. I want to measure, go to this other side and measure.
Right.
I mean, it's just easier for me to do it.
Yeah.
I just like working on my plate. I got the plate just put in the summertime. That thing weighs 8,500 pounds. It was a job to get it in here. I got to finish my skirting out around it, and then I will paint it. But it was a.
I would like to put a plate like this in my floor in my shop. This plate right here actually has some sentimental value to me. This was actually the plate that was in Bobby Hamilton's truck, BHR, that they set their trucks up on. Really?
Yes. And then a guy bought it. He had it for several years, and I bought it from him. But you still got the stamping in it. And I have verified this plate because Danny Gill worked for BHR, was a crew chief for years, and I had him come look at it. And he showed me it's got boat where they would put them on there and mount the noses on them, and so this is something I run up on and got, and I really love it. I would love working off it because I know the history. I mean, at one time Bobby Hamilton had the best truck team there was, you know, and a lot of people work for Bobby, so I got to acquire that, and I love working off of it.
So what kind of tubing bender do you use?
Well, I started out like everybody. I started out with a Pro Tools 105, basically some.
Like my JD squared?
They're all the same.
Right.
They just got a different name on them.
Yep.
And I started out with the aero hydraulic with the foot pedal. Then I upgraded to the electric motor, and that was the greatest thing. And then last year I upgraded to this bender. This is the Bailey.
Oh, that's serious. Yeah, that's serious stuff right there.
Rotary drawn bender. Oh yes, this right here makes it like it's no fun to bend tubing.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You just throw it in there and hit the pedal and go.
I mean, you got a foot pedal here, forward and reverse. I mean, it tells you everything right here. The dies are easy to, like you want to change a die on it. I mean, smooth the die. I mean, that quick change dies on it. So
it's quicker than my JD squared. Now, I like the JD squared, but, you know, it's totally manual. I mean, no more than I'm doing, you know, I can't see, you know.
This thing is just really simple. And you can see how big the cylinders are on it.
Yep.
I mean, it makes no effort for its bending. I probably didn't need nothing. This nothing this extravagant, but I mean, I saved up money.
But you're knocking out a lot of cars every year, you know.
Yeah, but all of this right here, this does not make you any better, any worse. All it does is make it easier.
It's just time, right?
This notcher, I mean, Miller Brothers notcher, it does not, it just make it easier. You know, the mill, you always need to drill or tap something.
Right.
The belt sanitors, you know, none of that makes you any better. It just makes it easier.
Right.
All it does.
Right.
Because I can, even though you notch on this, it's still a ton of cleanup. I mean, people think you buy a notcher, you just notch it and stick it on there. No. When you notch something here, you got to go to the belt sander, you got to clean it up.
Right.
If you're going to do any TIG welding, you need to go to the Scotch-Brite and clean all your mill scale off, and then go to the fab table over. In my fab table, I keep two welders on. I got one MIG welder on one side,
let's see what
TIG welder on the other side. That's how I build rear ends and build all suspension components.
So I recognize that Miller-Matic on. There's a bunch of those out there in the world. What is this over here?
I tell you what.
This is HTP. Okay.
I'm telling you what. These right here are the best welder that's ever made.
Really?
Absolutely. It has what's called a synergic, what they call a synergic, and it's the same thing as Miller's come up with auto set.
Yep.
They can't use the name, but they call it synergic. And all you do is easy set. You go to easy set button right here. Whatever rotor wire, I run 030 wire.
Yep.
So you go to 030. And what's neat about this machine is you got plus or minuses. So if you weld with it and it's too hot, you can go minus 1 voltage. You can go down 2 volts. You can go down 3 volts.
Right.
Or if you're not hot enough, you can go up a volt. You go 2 volts, 3 volts, and it makes a huge difference. And what I love about this rim, I can weld something super thin, and if I'm gonna weld some brackets on a rim, I do it right there. Done. Well,
it just automatically.
By doing that one turn, it has set everything on the machine. And I wish I had a rear. I just finished a reared up guy, picked it up, but I mean the welds on it are just unbelievable. How the old machines, they didn't when digital they call them rheostats. Well, you can adjust the wire speed and you can adjust the heat. Well, see, on these older machines, they had tap settings. Tap settings mean you just had a knob. You had a 1 through, this one has 1 through 6. What you don't realize is when if you on tap 3, you got a window like this.
Yep.
So if you run less wire speed, you get less heat.
Right.
Or if it's not hot enough, adjust the wire speed up, it gives you more heat. So people when they get to a rheostat welder where it's got both, they all think that they need more heat, so they're over adjusting on the heat. Well, they're not turning the wire speed. Well, the machine is not giving them more heat.
Right.
then it actually what it tries to do is slow the wire speed down. Then you get this. I mean, people need to like what I'm welding. You don't never need in tubing work. Never over 18 volts. Never.
Yeah.
About 17 and a half. You need to set your volts and leave it. You need to adjust only on your wire speed.
Yeah, I'm 17 and a half to about 18.2 is right there. And then like you said, and I'm like anywhere from 185 inches up to 205 inches, depending on the thickness of the metal.
Right. If anybody's ever seen dough tubing, when it comes to you, it looks chrome. There is no mill scale on it. I mean, you take acetone, wipe them off. I mean, it's just very, very clean. I mean, you about can't mess it up well.
So this car right here, now, that's like what normally you'd see on an oil cooler or something.
Just let the heat out.
Just to let the heat out?
Yeah. Well, and another thing too is who knows if it really makes a difference, but like a cup car, or a truck, a nationwide car, and that's the reason why you see they have such a huge tunnel out here.
Right.
And that's one thing that Bobby and them learned years ago is the smaller the tunnel in it, it would trap air under the truck. So the bigger they would let air out. I mean, that's doing two things, letting the heat and air out. If there's any air trapped in there, it's just letting it out.
Right. You lower the pressure, you're helping the car.
Who knows if it makes that big of a difference, but I mean, it don't take 10 minutes to punch some holes in there.
Punch some holes in it.
And then, if you do that, I guarantee you're going to get 50 times while you've done that. So that's a conversation piece.
Sweet steering box.
Yep. I actually like the KRC better.
Really? They're pricey.
No, the KRC is actually a little cheaper than the Sweet.
Is it?
Yes.
I was thinking it was higher. Maybe it's the pumps that are so much higher.
Well, the only thing that I like about KRC, they're about 35 minutes from me.
Yeah.
So if I got a problem, I can go up there or I can call.
Yeah. Okay.
So
how many of the Bernheisel frames have you done now? Is this number one?
This is number one.
This is number one.
I'll do 4 total. I've got 4 of them, but yeah.
But you're liking it, huh?
As far as building it, I mean, it might not be worth a flip on the racetrack, but as far as building it.
One thing alright, so like
people started complaining about this. The cross member is raised up in it. And people are like, oh, it's raised up you. I said, but this is what y'all not understanding. And it's where the spring bucket is.
Uh-huh.
Alright, if this spring bucket is up higher,
right,
you can get the front end lower. The lower the spring bucket is, the higher the frame. So even though if that is higher than stock, you're not going to be able to get any lower because you can't cut this out and move it.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I had a little conversation with a guy the other day. He was talking about it. He's like, oh, it's so much higher and you do this. I said, that's a great analogy, but I mean, how you going to get the frame in lower? Well, you're just going to run it. I said, you can't move that.
Uh-huh, it's fixed.
And the spring manufacturer, I mean, you can find some little shorter springs, but they're not good springs. So
right. So you think, are you an advocate for 9.5 inch on both sides on the front? You like the 9.5 inch spring for the front?
Yeah, that's about what you got to run.
That's about what I see. Some guys is running 8 inch, and
I've run some shorter springs. And the reason I tried shorter springs at one time because I wanted to get the car lower. Yeah. And I couldn't get it no lower. So the only alternative was to find a spring that was shorter, and I found some, but they wouldn't. You run them 2 or 3 races and they jump.
They jump, right. Well, I knew some guys are running 9.5, some guys is running 11s, it's like they're kind of, and I don't really understand, like what are you gaining or losing?
I know that if you raise, I don't really raise mine up, but a lot of guys are raising this up.
Well, hold on, let me catch up. I'm over here.
This point right here, they're raising these up.
Right.
They're coming off here and they're coming up here 2 or 3 inches. If you do that, you could run an 11-inch spring, or you could run any length spring and you get a lot lower. And
then you could change your spring table. You could run a 9.5 and an 11. Right. All right, so I'm understanding now the spring table. Like on the rear, I'm running a 13 and a 16, and yes, it makes a difference. Right. On the front, do you think it would make a difference to run different springs?
Depends on how high or how low your motor is.
Really?
Yep.
All right, so y'all see, he's a high motor guy. It's up there. It's up there.
If you run the motor higher, you should be able to run more right front springs and still get the car to roll over.
And still get the car. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
yeah, because you've got that weight, you know, that's over the top, that's above that spring.
The thing too is like these cars there, and like we've talked before, people don't realize, you know, these cars that do two things getting in the corner, they'll dive and they'll roll. The car's already rolled before it even dives.
Right.
Because they don't have a sway bar on it. The sway bar on like an asphalt car, the sway bar tries to travel the right front and left front the same. These cars, you don't have no sway bar. So it's depending on what you got built in your shop and what you got in your spring, your motor location, how quick it gets on the right front. And when it gets on the right front, it depends on how you got your shock, how long you want to stay there. So
pretty awesome. How many cars a year, Jamie?
I started racing when I was probably 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And my dad always worked on race cars, always had a shop, and I just started building cars, just fixing cars. You know, you wreck them, you learn how to fix them.
That's right.
Racing, so I got pretty good. It really interested me fixing cars. I was always the type that if I wrecked it or I worked on a car that was wrecked, I want to put it back as where you couldn't even see it been wrecked. That was always, I love to do that.
Right.
Even still today, I mean, it's like when I build my cars, you know, like I don't make this tube all the way through. So if this car got crashed in front, you do see this tube butts into the. So I can replace this tube and never see it. I don't want to put no splices or nothing.
Right.
I want to replace the whole tube. So I mean, I don't know how many cars I started. The late model deal, I think I built 40 something of them. And when I started keeping up these, I've got like 22 of them built, and the mini stocks, I've got like 27 of them built.
That's a lot of cars.
Yeah, but I mean, I've only been keeping up for a few years, but it ain't no time. I mean, on my Facebook page, I probably got over 3,000 pictures of stuff I've done.
Golly.
I mean, that's not all new builds. That's rebuilding cars and doing bodies and building cars and stuff like that. So it's a lot.
All right.
I'm getting a frame from Jamie, so y'all come here, I want to check this out.
So he has switched to an aftermarket frame. So he had this one. This is already sandblasted.
Yeah, when I see you looking for a frame, I was like, if you want to do that was a perfect venture for you. I mean, it's just, I do everything myself. Like I told you, I'm the same guy that cleans the toilet as the sweeps.
Yeah.
I work a full-time job. People don't realize I do that. I've been water plant for over 20 years, so I can't quit that. So I'll do this for a hobby. So if anything just makes it simpler for me to do, I do it.
So like all of this, so like I'll have several days and just all of the work around this this cut right here, cutting this out, trimming, plating, and everything. Whereas like with the aftermarket, all that's done. So for a guy that's doing this it's a part-time, like I said, you still work a full-time job. This shop is actually at your house.
Right.
And so like, yeah, you're eating supper and coming out here at night, aren't you?
I work 7 to 3, and I get home about 3:30, 3:20. And I usually get me a snack or something, let the dogs out, and I come out here, and I usually work Monday through Friday. I work out here at about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And Saturday and Sunday, I stay out here at 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
So that's Jamie Lewis Fabrication Race Car Chassis. We're going to get this metric frame loaded up to head back to Lauderdale County, and I will see you next time. Really appreciate it, Jamie. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Bye, y'all.